So it's one more day to talk Phillies before the day they start, or before they start tomorrow. Let's kind of get into it this way here. There's a lot to be really enthused about, and there is some things to be concerned about. Now, let me be very clear. The enthused category, John, is like way more than the concern category. But obviously, this group hasn't yet won a World Series. Any number of things could trip them up on their way to trying to accomplish that goal. They will very likely make the playoffs. I mean, I think it's, I don't want to call it a guarantee because that'd be stupid, but it's got to be somewhere between 90 and 95% as a baseball postseason team. So today, to just sort of foster one more day of let's get into it here before tomorrow they crank it up. I'll ask you this very simple question. What has you really enthused about this club, and what has you concerned? And I'll say this, it might not be a regular season concern. I mean, honestly, I'm at the point with the Phillies where, when I think about what concerns me, it's what could zap them in the postseason. Because I don't think anything's going to zap them in the regular season. But, John, first crack at it, and everyone today at 215-592-9494. John, let's start enthused. What has you particularly enthused about this Phillies team?
I'm thrilled that Ranger has been there. And everyone talks about it. Everyone at spring training brought up the fact Ranger 2024, it's different. This is a breakout year for Ranger. Ranger, he's around this year. It's great to see him doing so much work. So I love that. I love what Ranger's going to do, and I have so much confidence in him. I love Whit Merrifield's versatility. I love that he can fill cracks all over the place. I think it's amazing that we now have a guy who's played 7 positions in Major League Baseball. We want him mostly to play second and left field, but hey, we got more versatility than we've had in a long time, and he's a really good player. But most of all, I love the way I felt when we were down there at spring training, when I looked at these players, when I looked at Kyle Schwarber and saw the belief, the attitude, the desire, the ticked offedness.
I agree with you.
There's ticked offedness inside these guys, including the big boppers. And these players, they just can't wait to get out there and make things right. They believe they're the best team in the world, and they're going to go out there and prove it. I believe in them too, and it's just we know it's a marathon, but their jaws are set. I think this is a 100-win team, and it's just been extenuating circumstances, slow starts the last couple of years that have prevented that. This is a year they all know that they need to start quickly. They're going to have triple-digit wins when it's all said.
Look, I love their mindset. I agree with you, John. It was very evident when we were down there. And just everything we've heard, even when we're up here, we hear different interviews, different clips of sound bites of players and coaches speaking. Look, there's a lot to be enthused about. And, again, we'll ask you at 215-592-9494. What's top of mind for you in that category? Here's where I'm at on that side. Now, beyond the obvious that they could win the World Series, and that's the ultimate goal, and obviously that's the thing to be most – they really could. The Phillies could win the World Series. But let me bring it down a notch. John, you mentioned the word marathon, and it's ironic you said that because that's the wheelhouse of I think where I am right now as far as what I'm most enthused about. I'm actually really enthused about the marathon of the regular season and what it represents this year for the Phillies and for us as fans. Now, here's what I mean by that. We all know the baseball regular season is a long journey. And more than the other sports, it stands largely by itself. We'll see how long the Flyers and Sixers can last. We know, obviously, the Eagles don't really play till close to mid-September. You get August preseason games, but, it's you got to wait a long time. And the Phillies carry the bulk of the action for a long time for all of us as Philadelphia sports fans. And there's two things that I know to be facts. One, the Phillies really could beat the Braves to win the division. They really could. Mm-hmm. They really, really could.
It's not impossible.
It's not.
There are people who act like it's impossible
because
it hasn't happened the last couple of years, and it's been pretty decisive the other way.
It has been. I tend to think that the Braves will win this thing, but I am eyes wide open. I am eyes wide open that the Phillies could. I mean,
good.
There's no doubt they could. Here's the other fact, at least as I interpret it. I guess Technically, it's not a fact. It's an opinion based on what I've heard and observed, but I believe it to be true. I think the Phillies are going to push really hard. I think they're going to push really hard to try to win the division. Meaning, like, to me, the dog days, and you have some dog days. The players have dog days. Let's be real. All of us as fans have dog days. It's another game in June. It's another game in July. Sixers and Flyers will probably be done by a month or two by that point, whatever date we're talking here. Just another game. Phillies and the Twins. All right. Like, I actually think because, listen, on one hand, you can say the Phillies might not prioritize the division that much because they've proven you don't have to win the division to beat the Braves in the postseason, and that's true. But they're not dumb. They know that they don't want to play with the fire of that opening round where you can lose in 2 days and have your season over. And we heard that when we talked. Like, we talked to Rob Thompson in spring training, a week or two ago, and he was very clear that he wants them to win the division because, and he literally used the phrase, you're playing with fire. Well, maybe it was Dombrowski, it was one or the other. You're playing with fire if you don't. So I like that mentality and mindset. The talent obviously is there to compete. So my sense of what I'm very enthusiastic about is a fantastic Phillies team that's going to push hard and give us something really cool. And frankly, let's be real, pretty damn rare in our lives. An incredibly compelling regular season where the Phillies go for it in the regular season and then they'll go for it again in the postseason. To me, that sort of let's strive for greatness, I think will make it a really fun regular season. I want a battle. Look, the Braves aren't going to win 87 games, or 85 games, 82 games. If the Phils are going to win the division, you're going to have to really crank it up the whole way. And I think they will for a very compelling regular season. All right, 215-592-9494. John, what has you concerned?
Slow start. That's the biggest concern, and I believe they have identified that as the thing that they know that they can affect. They know that they can right that ship to some degree, and they are addressing it. They think this year can be different. I agree. I think that's going to make a huge difference in the bottom line, the number of wins when it's all said and done. Taijuan Walker, that's a concern. What's the deal, man? Really, I thought it was messed up. I thought Bryce was being a jerk when he slighted you a while back by saying, hey, that other guys out there for fourth and fifth starters. Now I wholeheartedly believe that you needed slighted. You need to get some edge, get some readiness, get some accountability to your teammates. I'm having a hard time trusting our fourth starter, and if I had my druthers, we'd just be calling him the fifth starter already. Sanchez should already be our 4, and maybe we need to find other alternatives. I don't know. That's a concern.
The Jordan Montgomery thing must bug even more.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So big concern there. But hey, for the first portion of the season, 4 pitchers, I think we'll be able to make do. Rojas. Yes, that's a concern, too. I wish that we could make all that athleticism apply to his eyeballs, too.
Right.
Like, make your eyeballs super athletic so they can pick up that spin.
Right.
And then I think we all find him really rootable, and it's just so rewarding to watch a guy. Like, I think back to Bryson Stott. We got to watch Bryson Stott work out the kinks early on. Watch him
he
grow.
really struggled.
Watch his rap. Well, he struggled, but then when he figured it he figured it out, and it really was. You could see.
I agree.
Visibly, markedly see the improvement.
Yep, I agree.
And that was really cool.
I agree, and there's no doubt. I mean,
watching that leap.
When I say
young guy,
when he really, I mean that first month or month and a half, whatever it was, his first year, like he was a disaster. And to see the evolution of him, and to know that this will now be, I think, James, year 3 for Bryson Stott.
Year 3.
So I mean, this could be his biggest jump.
Can you imagine if he makes another leap like he took last year?
Totally.
And I've seen this guy work. I like the chances that he'll take another leap.
All right, here's the deal. Again, we want to hear from you, 215-592-9494. What has you really enthusiastic about this campaign, which obviously is going to be a long list of things, but also what has you concerned? I'm going to give you 2 answers on the concern side. One is, and I kind of brace myself for this as a fan. Maybe others don't think in these terms. I do. I just know that no matter how great they are in the regular season, whether they finish first in the division or second, they could face a very quick postseason exit. I just know that. And I'll say this, if it happens, whether it's in the first thing in a best of 3 or in the second round in a best of 5, it doesn't really necessarily mean the Phillies have gone backwards as an organization. They just happen to lose a freaking best of 3. Like, that happens. You can lose a best of 5. So I temper, it's a strange dynamic. I temper my enthusiasm with the reality that I know you can get a lot of cold water splashed in your face really fast in this sport. The other thing I'll say that really speaks to that, the thing that really concerns me within that, is this team does have a group of players with their bats that could go cold fast and could go cold hard. And I think the players that most, and I'm talking postseason here, guys. Like, this isn't going to zap them in the regular season. Might not win the division, but, like, they're going to make the playoffs. But when I think in terms of the postseason, I think in terms of the two guys in particular to me that really stand out for going cold fast and going cold hard are Castellanos and Schwarber. I mean, when they go cold, they're in Antarctica. And if that happens in October, you got a problem. So, and I don't think there's really much changing of that. I don't think this is a situation, like, the players they have, they are what they are. Some of these guys are not put the bat on the ball kind of players. They're mashers. And I don't believe the Phillies can change their DNA. They can attempt, take an extra pitch, try to lay off the pitch low and outside. All that good stuff the hitting coach, of course, will work on these guys with. Shorten your swing, Kyle Schwarber. Good luck with that. Like, the reality is they are what they are. And they're going to hit a lot of home runs, and they're going to score a lot of runs. They're going to win a lot of games. But they also have a style that can go cold, hardcore. And that could zap them fast in the postseason. To me, that is probably my main concern within the construct of this team as it relates to are they or are they not going to win the World Series. Look, we'll talk to you here today at 215-592-9494, all the parts. The pitching staff with the starting rotation, as John pointed out, not getting Montgomery, relying on Taiwan, who right now is obviously shaky. The bullpen, closer situation, unknown. We'll find out soon. Sounds like, they'll kind of figure it out as they go. Obviously, it's a good bullpen, but on the back end, who is it? The bats, mostly the same type of team as they had in recent years, which we know can go hot and cold. And look, you should get a full season of Bryce Harper, barring a major injury. He could be the MVP for the third time in his career. Stock could take a major leap. Trey Turner could be, MVP-type Trey Turner the whole season instead of for 2 months. There's a lot on both sides of the ledger. There's a lot more to be enthusiastic about than not. We'll ask you where you stand one more day before the Phillies opening day. Your phone calls all through the show. 215-592-9494. We'll get into that disastrous and ridiculous Sixers loss up ahead. We'll rock your calls on all these topics, plus what was said after the game last night. Joe DeCamera and John Reggie. It's 94 WIP.